Welcome into Studio 10 Broadcasting 10 o'clock talks. This is America Disclosing Uncensored, the Dark Radio Network project. There's a lot of words there, I know. With me tonight is a very, very special guest. He's a person who travels the world, loves his adventure, and he is an adventurist and photojournalist, and is recognized and critically acclaimed filmmaker born and raised in British Columbia, Canada. I love Canada, by the way, and my guest is sitting with me, and I want to give you a better introduction in 1 second. He loves the beauty of the North Americas, and he has produced over 300 videos documenting animals amongst the interactions with people and more for the past 25 years, capturing some of the most sincerest and pristine pictures, of the moments with these animals. Jason also produced 4 chapters of Searching for Sasquatch, and we'll be talking about number 5 shortly. Also has 3 children's books. One's called, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Adventures of Little JJ, about a little boy 6 years old who uses his imagination to travel the world for meeting new animal friends. Second book, Loch Ness Monster and Moth Boy. 3, Rescue to Cryptid Island. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
okay, great.
Island.
Good. Now listen, I want everybody to know this because I support the moms teaching at school at home. These are the perfect kind of books for perfect mindsets for the children. So please keep that in mind, and I'll get you some information if anybody's interested in purchasing a book. Good evening and welcome in, Jason, Kenzie, Kenzie, because I know I had a mishap when we were talking earlier. Yeah. How are you, brother?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. It's a real confidence builder for our platform as well. And again, I would like to do anything I can to get your information out, what your successes are. And in a way, this is going to be a person of history and legend. His accomplishments are mind-blowing in awards and so forth. So he's a very great guest, and I think you're going to enjoy some of his stories. So before we jump right into 5, is there any way you could navigate us just a tad for the people who don't know you so we can get them into you and have them look you up on all your episodes and accomplishments and Searching for Sasquatch? I know tonight we're going to talk a lot about the Texas Screams Chapter 5, which I saw the teaser. It was mind-blowing. And I'm not going to give it away. I want you to tell the story. But can you give us a little bit? I know why you got into it. I don't like to use these words because we violate some ethics when we talk about the 3rd letter of the alphabet and then the 1 and the NINE. But it's true. We do. Everything's a violation. You get 90 days in jail, so forth. But I know that was the period of time that you changed your focus a little bit. So why don't you start off with 1?
With chapter 1?
However you could just navigate us through it. So I want these people to get to know who you are and how important the fundamental of everything you're doing, putting this together for us.
Yeah. So I am an animal photojournalist, an extreme animal photojournalist. So I travel the world meeting people that live with amazing animals, from tigers, bears, wolves, kangaroos, giant snakes, tarantulas, ostriches, you name it. I'll go out and I'll interview the owners and I'll have them talk about the love that they have for these animals. I've always loved animals my entire life, even if I step in their poop. It's true. It doesn't matter to me. But so when this virus hit and it closed down everything, I was kind of like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't fly out anywhere. I can't travel anywhere. And I was sitting one day thinking, there's this thing about Sasquatch that I've always heard about over the years. And I was wondering if maybe there's something about it. And being a skeptic, I wasn't really taking it too serious. I was basically just going out. I was interviewing a lady who talked about her encounter with Sasquatch. And she led me to another eyewitness who talked about having an encounter with a Bigfoot. And from there, I would ask them, where was this? And they would point me or show me a map, or they would take me out to this area, and I would go out there at night looking around to see if I could find any footprints, maybe do some howls and some yells myself, some wood knocks to see if I can call any of these things in. And then at one point, I went to Headley, BC. I went way up into the mountains, and out there, I came across these giant footprints that were embedded in the mud at the bottom of this lake. Now, the lake wasn't too deep, it was maybe about 4 feet deep. And I had a drone with me, and I flew it up and flew it over, and you could see the path where whatever it was, we're walking through. And some people argued that it was moose. Well, I know moose. Have you ever seen moose walk through mud? They don't like tiptoe. They rip everything up as they move.
Yeah.
These are actual footprints, and they were going right across. And I'm not saying they're Bigfoot because I didn't see what made them, but I took the footage to the First Nations people in that area, and they told me I had found the migration path of Sasquatch from Alaska going over the mountains all the way down to California. And it blew my mind, and it blew their mind. And I have that in chapter 1. And then I went up into the mountains, and I was in a tent, and something walked up, and it just made a bunch of noise. And by the time I unzipped the tent, it had run off. Now, I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch, because it could be a bear, or it could have been goats, because there were goats in the vicinity. And that's how I kind of got started. I made chapter 1, and after that, I started getting all these awards, these international film awards, which blew me away, because I'm like, hey, it's just me, and it's just this film. I wasn't taking it very serious, though. Number 2, I took it a little bit more serious. And that's how I got started into, searching for Sasquatch. I love a good mystery, and I love a good adventure also.
And and it reflects in your work as well. Again, if you're just joining in, hi, I'm Michael Anthony. You know who I am. And with me tonight is Jason Kenzie, award-winning man on many levels of different things, has done so many different types of videos and documentaries. You're going to want to know this gentleman before you leave here, and you're going to want to research all his work, because it's very humbling, and it's great pieces of information for us to put together and help us put together. Before we jump directly into 2, since you gave us a little bit of a narrative of what 1 was about, when it came to the footprints, if I just may add, did you at that point in time, because as you said, you were skeptical, but here you find evidence. Did you get a measurement, or is it just the filming?
Well, it's so I didn't know what I was going to find, really. When someone said that there was footprints out in a lake in the middle of the mountains, I'm thinking that the footprints would be gone because they're in water, but they weren't. Right. They were in there. That means whatever left it, the water must have been right down, and it must have been really muddy and somewhat dry for something to leave it, and then it filled up again, because allegedly they've been there for a couple of years.
Wow.
I did look at some of the ones that were closer to the shore, and I could see that they were definitely much larger than 13 or 14 inches. I would roughly say maybe they were 17 inches. That's pretty much how, and they're pretty wide too. But like I said, I didn't see what made it. So until I can see something, until Bigfoot walks up and, plays chess with me in the middle of the mountains, then I will believe it 100%.
Yeah. I get that 100% plus. It's almost like too, when we hear some of these vocalization identifications, that we think, we know we hear them, and sometimes some of us experience it, but do we see it come from their mouths? And because there's narratives of different types of um, species possibly lingering in these dark woods and into some of these heavy populated forest areas away from people. Could we actually be hearing that what everybody describes as the deep growl? Could it be dogmen? I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those things because it's almost like until you can break bread with them and make a direct communication with them, um, who's to say? That's where the research comes in. That being said, not that I was trying to present a question, just throwing a little bit of a gist of idea from my own mind. What was two like for you? Because now you're jumping into the seriousness. There's enough of a vibe here saying, I want to go back to this. I want to do more. It seems like the type of field work I can do. That's what I'm figuring you're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So number two, I kind of went in the direction of alien aspect to the scientific part of it, because I interviewed ex law enforcement officer who she said was driving home from fishing after a day of fishing, and she saw a UFO that was hovering over trees, and then there was a big bright light, and then these two monstrous gorilla-like creatures walked out of the forest towards her.
Wow.
And probably within 200 feet, and she got scared and she just booked it. She was in her vehicle and she just punched the gas and took off. And she never said anything for 40 years. Like, she didn't say anything for years and years and years. And I was one of the first person to actually convince her to talk about it. And I had to black out her face and I had to change her voice. And even then she had said no. When I said, look, I can black you out, I can change your voice, and she still said no. And finally I went over and I did a small little video, and then I altered it and showed her what I could do. And she's like, okay, I trust that you will be able to make it so no one can recognize me. And that's how I was able to she did not want to go on film. She didn't want to be recognized because she's a law enforcement officer. She was afraid that she'd be ridiculed. And so from there, I met up with a lady named Carol, and she channels this kind of a godlike being through her, and she writes books. She's quite famous, and she has this spirit god like being that comes through her and writes through her body. So she writes
So
books.
not to interrupt you, she's doing some type of remote viewing with automatic writing.
It's not remote viewing. It's basically she goes into a trance, and
Right.
this god being by name of Pax. That's the name of the god, is Pax, and it basically takes control of her, and she writes whatever he writes, like the god being writes through her, almost like she's a vessel.
Right.
So I asked her, can you ask Pax, what are Sasquatches? What are Bigfoots? And she did. She wrote a whole page telling me what Sasquatches were. And basically Pax told her, or wrote through her, that that Sasquatches are an alien species that were brought here to Earth, hundreds of thousands and thousands of years ago, and they kind of mated with some of the creatures here on Earth that 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 made the Sasquatch. So like an aliens came here, mated with these I don't know, these animals, and in turn it made these Sasquatches. This is what she said, and I interviewed her, so I have that entire interview on chapter 2. It really blew my mind.
That would be a lot to take in. But again, I mean, a lot of people surround himself with the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and the
Yeah.
Raphalim, and but there was giants before,
Hmm.
meaning much bigger than what they were from when we go post flood to those things where they actually over a period of time in size, the giants because of the breakup of the structure of the bloodline and the
Yeah.
DNA and the
Yeah.
outsource of mating, they changed. And
Yeah.
a lot of people do understand that theory that you're explaining. And I again, I'm aware a little bit of the work. I don't, and I haven't followed intensively as maybe as I should have. But I got to say this much: I've heard this repeated many times before. So again, a lot of people's theories,
Yeah.
um, and again, I can prove none of this, but that they are and were some type of alien brought here
Hmm.
to for a purpose, I would assume, and
Yeah.
that's the breakup in history, and then part of another show. So
Yeah.
because we only have an hour, and your time is
Yeah.
very valuable, how would you like to go into chapter 3?
Yeah. I can get into chapter 3. Uh, Before I get into chapter 3, it blows my mind to think that these alien, creatures came down to Earth, and while they're looking around exploring, it just blows my mind how they thought about like, I think I'm going to have sex with that squirrel over there, and boom, we have Sasquatch. Like I just wonders how these creatures came to Earth and goes, look at all these different animals out here. What do you think, Frank? You know, like it just blows my mind to think that, you know,
I get that because I thought of some of these narratives myself. Since we're talking about the three-letter word, the SCX word, um, when you see some proofs, what we believe are proofs of archaeology finds and so forth, you ask yourself if there was a normality of a human being species, the daughters of man that were so beautiful. If we look at that concept,
mm-hmm,
um, how could one of such enormity even be able to, with not causing harm to the woman to even birth a child? You know what I mean? I'm just saying
exactly.
in ways, or what were they having, or what other possibilities of other species were there that we may not even know? Like we're missing a part of the most
Yeah,
important part of the uh, uh,
the missing link, right?
yes, which goes, and then when you go back and you really look at some of the information, like on Darwin, we have certain proofs now that came out on his theory that he was paid to create that theory.
Yeah, yeah,
Not that he actually had the research and the proof, or
hmm,
the possibility of a theory by that it was implanted to him to do it.
yeah,
So by means of whatever works, the natural aspects of what we all live, and we know how weird that can be. But yeah, it
yeah,
is fascinating, as you said. But here again, alien, now creature of the globe,
yeah,
hiding in the forest. We call it Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti. I mean, there's hundreds of names because cultures all seem to have a different type of perspective
yeah,
of the name. But we also have different colors, different heights, and different descriptions, and several different ways. Yeah, again, my mind's blown too. I try to fit it together the best I can, and I
hmm,
I wonder myself, and maybe you have, like, what is the missing link that brought it to this? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
I hope you're going to be able to find out and tell us
I
and
hope
say.
so too. I hope so too. If only I
All
could
right.
tell squirrels. So what happened a million years ago to your cousins? Um, but yeah, so let's talk about chapter 3. So chapter 3 is part 1 of 2 parts.
Okay.
So there's chapter 3 and then there's chapter 4. So chapter 3 is part 1, chapter 4 is part 2. And originally it was supposed to be 2 parts, but I had to
Okay.
make them chapter 3 and 4, without saying that it was, a continuation, because it's on Tubi TV, and Tubi TV wanted basically to have 2 parts. I couldn't do chapter 3 part 1 and chapter 3 part 2. They wouldn't let me. So I had to do chapter 3 and chapter 4. But with that said, I went to Michigan, and this Bigfoot researcher, Dave, and Chad, they flew me out there to go on an expedition. They had me talk. They let me talk at the Michigan Bigfoot conference, which was exciting. It was my first time talking about my life around Bigfoot and my animal adventures in front of a crowd of 3 people. God, I was excited. And yeah, it was great.
The nerves were all, yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
I
and like,
get you.
listen, all 3
Sometimes
of you know.
yeah, I've been in that position. Yeah, I do weddings and different things like that. Some of my background, and the worst case scenario I actually had was when I married my son, because I didn't want to disappoint my daughter-in-law, because she was
Yeah,
very boisterous. As that I want it like this, I want it like that, and you want to honor everybody's wishes. And then here in the middle of it all, I get myself all fogged out and whatnot, because you want them to remember it. You want to do a good job. You want to be
yeah.
like the other guy who can do a really good,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
yet you're the dad that's asked to do this. Hey, dad, marry us. And it's like, well, okay. And then all of a sudden reality hits in. 3 people, 100, doesn't matter. The nerves don't,
yeah,
they just take control. They do.
yeah, yeah. It totally. But it was good. And then after it was done, we drove for, I want to say, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours into the Michigan wilderness. We drove we took trucks and ATVs into the wilderness, and I was on an expedition with Robert Kreider, the She Squatchers. Adam Davies was there, and they taught me a lot. They taught me about tracking. They taught me about the tree breaks,
Hmm.
how you find them twisted and broken,
Right.
and they're like, they're 7, 8, 9 feet off the ground, and some of them are like the breaks that we find are like sometimes as big as my wrist, which isn't really saying much, but it's twisted and broken. And even the small ones, the small sticks, you can't even do it yourself, you know. So that was interesting to see. And then we came across a giant tree X. It was huge. It was massive. It was maybe about 20 feet high, both of them, probably 2,000-pound trees. And one looked like it was like either pushed or fallen over because there was still roots on it. But the other one, it was picked up and carried from somewhere. It was actually picked up and moved. And then there was another one on top. And so uh, the researchers were telling me that this is a way for the Sasquatches to say, don't go any further. This is our territory. So I said, well, I'm just going to sleep under it with a hammock tent. So I did. I tied up a hammock tent. I did tie it up underneath it, but then I thought to myself, God, if something comes by and hits it, it might fall on me. So I untied it and tied it to trees literally next to it.
Right.
And in the middle of the night, sure enough, something walked up. I mean, throughout the night, I could hear crunching from either a bunny or maybe a mouse. A mouse came by, and I could hear it. And I was listening to all these howls. I could hear them. They're far away, but you can hear them going, "Woo, woo," like you could just really sleep. Because when you're in a hammock and it's like 2 a.m. and everyone's sleeping, everything's so quiet. Then all of a sudden, I heard crunch, crunch. First, I heard a snap, and it woke me up. I'm like I was kind of half in and out of sleeping, and it cracked. I'm like, oh God, what? I heard it was something heavy, and it cracked. And as it moved, the tree that I was on, I could feel the vibration. And it walked up, it stopped, and grunted at me. Like it grunted at me, and then I was so scared that I started almost convulsions like I was shaking uncontrollably because I was so scared. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, if this is a bear or maybe even a wild boar? Or what if it is a Bigfoot? All it could do is just hit it and just break me in half. And it started walking away. And then I yelled out to see if maybe it was another researcher. And Dave, and he's the one that, they kind of flew me out. Dave is the one, he actually slept next to a tree about 20 feet from me. So when I yelled out his name, he answered me. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. It's Dave. So I unzipped really fast and I got out. And when I walked over with my light, there he is, tucked in. He's all tucked in. And I'm like, Dave, was that you walking around? He's like, no, Jay, I was sleeping. I only woke up because, you yelled my name. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so that wasn't you that was walking around? I said, no. So we looked around for the next 10 minutes to see if we can see footprints or anything. And there's no way that Dave could have made it back to where he was sleeping, all tucked up, because the ground was all full of leaves and broken debris. He would have made one hell of a noise trying to run over to the tree to get bundled back up. And I was out of my tent within seconds after he said, yes, Jay, can I help you? And so I got out really fast and he was still sleeping. So I don't know what came up. It could have been a pig. I didn't see what it was. And I went back and told the other researchers what happened. And everyone was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the next day, another researcher went back to where the hammock was still tied up. He went to retrieve something and something grunted at him from the darkness. And so he got scared and kind of walked back to probably ran, well, I know, and went back to the guys and said, look, Jason's, he's not full of it. I was just back there and something grunted at me. And then we had a bionic ear that was made by Robert Kreider. And we caught the grunt on his parabolic ear. Yeah, really? It was amazing. And then we heard howls and screams, and the she squatchers were pretty fun. Do you know the she squatchers?
Yeah,
they're actually pretty fun ladies to be around, and we went out with them. We found allegedly what they think are footprints, so we cast the footprints, and and that was fun. And that's all in chapter 3, and then in chapter 4 was a continuation. Yeah.
All right, before we go there, I apologize, but something you did say that was startling in a way, but very good information. As you're laying there in the hammock and know that you're experiencing something, you said something that I've never heard anybody say before. You said that you actually could feel the vibration of the walk.
As the walk, yeah. Because
that's mind-blowing in itself, because that means there's like, I want to say tonnage there, but I know what the horses are like up at the farm, and how they have to move in order, but you do feel it. I get where you're coming from on you. It's a whole different mechanism. If people have ever experienced wild horses running, and what that stampede sounds like, and what that front horse is like, as his dominance is to really create sound as he runs, so he's more superior.
Yeah.
And here you have a gentle giant walking over, observing you of some sort, or maybe, as you said, maybe it was a wild boar, but it seems highly unlikely because of the description that you actually could feel the vibration of the walk.
Yeah. And it wasn't that, like, it didn't like, oh God, that's one heck of a shake. It was very, very
You got to be an actor while you're in the chair. Okay.
But it was like, I'm lying there going, oh, what the hell was that? And as I was walking, I could just feel the little bit of the vibration of like off the string.
Right.
On the hammock, because I'm lying there off the ground. And yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking for sure. But I wish I could have seen it. I don't know if anyone has been in a hammock tent, but you really can't see through at nighttime when you have a light. You can't see through the netting, because I just had the netting over me, and I'm trying to look, and I still couldn't see anything. But I'm actually going to build something that I know that if a Bigfoot walks up to me, or if something walks up to me, I 100% guarantee that I'm going to uh, get a good look at it. I'm going to build something. I've been thinking about it. I drew it out. Well, it cost me a couple $1,000s to make, and I guarantee if something walks up to me, I'm going to definitely be able to see it, 100%. Even
Well,
a bear.
keep in mind one thing. You can build anything that may keep you safe, because we know that aquatically, for sharks and
Mm,
research in the waters, that they can make things that will protect against huge predators.
yeah,
Don't build it on the ground unless you can countersink it somehow to where he can't pick it up and throw you 100 feet.
yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, right? I mean, yeah, I thought about that too. I mean, I got one chance to do this. Have the
Hmm.
camera rolling as it's running towards me and carrying me off into the forest. Like,
But I no, hey,
you
still,
are real, real.
right. But again, I'm with you on it. You're thinking out of the box, but in the box in a good way. Like, what can I do to get this sighting? Because I have talked to a couple people that said that Bigfoot's been within an arm reach from them,
Yeah,
or within inches from their face accidentally, where just out of the blue
yeah,
something occurs. Um, and again, they were able to live to talk about it and describe it. And we have to take all information as being true and fact when somebody puts information out there. If we don't, we're going to ridicule every bit of everything that's there. So we have
yeah,
to just take it in, weigh it, try to collect the data, and make it mean something, or find a way that it means something. But
yeah,
again, if you are
yeah,
to build something,
yeah,
just keep in mind, this is the best thing I can say, that is so secure to the
yeah.
ground in some way. You
What
know,
I'm going to do is I'll just have someone else sleeping beside me. So there's a 50-50 chance that they might get it. Right. So I might be able to run off. It's kind of,
call me up. Call
yeah,
me up.
exactly.
I just might be the idiot that would do that. And something else you brought up too. You were talking about the branches, okay, and how they could take a branch, the thickness of your arm, or
Yeah,
and they could just twist it. They
yeah,
twist it and
yeah,
snap it.
yeah,
I can't do that with a toothpick.
yeah. I know. I know it's hard. It's
It's
hard.
more than hard. It's
Robert,
incredible, and but it happens all the time.
yeah, Robert Kreider would say, okay, see this small little, you know, something as something as like a pen, uh,
Right.
like a branch that big. He said, okay, I want you to grab it and I want you to twist it and break it. Couldn't even do it. Could not even do it. You could barely do it with two hands. I mean, you could do it eventually, but with one hand, and even with two hands, it's still hard to twist
Yeah.
and break
Right.
it and twist it.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
can snap it before you can ever twist it. It's
yeah.
really, mind-boggling, the strength
And I
that would
always
come from this creature.
and I always come across these giant tree X's, I call them,
Yeah.
all over the place in the Rocky Mountains, in Texas, here in Harrison Hot Springs, like just out in the forest. I found another one that was probably even bigger than the one that I found in Michigan, the one I slept underneath. The one I found just in the forest here, it's massive. Like it's just, I can't believe how big it is, and it sticks out. Literally, there is no other. There's trees all over the place, but there's no tree fall anywhere around. And then you stand there and you just see this giant X
Hmm.
with another log, like another tree that's on top of one of them, like on the bottom, as if
Right.
it's holding the base of it. Like another giant one that's still like 3,000 pounds on top of one of the trees, almost like it's holding it. Yeah, it's really strange. I like all this I'm telling you is in my documentaries. And if you go, you'll see I talk about it. I show, I'm shooting with 4K video, so you get
Mhm.
really good quality. You can really see some of the detail. Um, and like I said, I'm not saying it was Bigfoot that made this. It's just odd, you know, is odd. So in chapter four, I went with Blake, and he's another Bigfoot researcher, and we went probably about, I think it, I think it was 4 miles into the forest, and it was nighttime. It was maybe about 1 in the morning, and went to retrieve a voice recorder that he had put earlier that day. And we're walking. And as we're walking, we are. I'm filming all the tree breaks along the way. He's showing them to me. He's showing all these tree breaks, and I'm fascinated. Some are big, some are small, some are 10 feet high, some are 6 feet high. And then we came across all these trees that were all pushed over, but the roots were not showing. It looked like they were bent over the trail, almost to say that we shouldn't go past. But we had to crawl under and over to get through to the other side. And there was grass that was really tall, and we got all the way to the end, got the voice recorder, and we started moving back. We started walking back, and as we're walking, we came across these 3 tree breaks that weren't there when we were going there, but coming back, they were right in the middle of the trail, the middle of the trail, and we walked up to it, and I'm looking at it, going, you know what? I don't remember this here, because I was filming them all on the way, and we touched the inside of it, and it was still wet, like you could
Right.
still see the sap or
Like
the.
the greenness.
It was, well, no, it was just wet inside, right? It was still bendable. It was still, like, there was still stuff like leaves. It had just been done. Then all of a sudden there was a big crack in the forest behind us, and we turned around, we stopped, and we looked, and I had my headlamp, and I turned, and as I moved my light, there was a pair of eyes that that shut, like either it shut, the eye shut. It was eye shine, and it shut, and I'm saying, Blake, I see it. I saw some eye shine, and I'm trying to get it on film, and then all of a sudden, about 5 minutes later, it opened it back up, but it was further back. It was further back, as if it stepped outside of the infrared, the night vision of my camera, and then it slowly opened the eyes, and then all of a sudden, another one came out from the side, and they just stood there staring at us. And as we're looking at these 2 eye shine that's looking at us, we could hear cracking in the forest all around us. And Blake is like, Jay, I think there's more than just these 2 or whatever. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, Blake, I'm probably pooped myself. Like, seriously. Like, it's like I'm like, what is it? I'm thinking, is it a bear? Is it gonna charge us? I'm like getting prepared. I'm like, I don't want to break this camera. I just bought it. I'm like, so many stuff is going through my head as I'm staring at these 2 sets of eye shine. Then all of a sudden they disappeared. It's like they closed their eyes,
Right.
and then we rushed it. We walked up really fast, and when we got to the spot where they were standing, to the side was all open, where all along where we were originally standing, it was all thick trees. If anything was walking through it, you would have to break the small branches and crack, crack, crack. But when we rushed to the area where we saw the 2 eye shine, it was all open. It was all open. You could see where something could have just walked right through. And the scary part is 3 months later or 2 months later, when I was looking through my footage, as I'm talking on camera, there was eye shine behind us, watching us, only like 5 feet in the forest. We never saw any of that when we were standing there. And I'm talking on camera, talking about what's happening. And I'm moving like the camera as I'm looking around. As I'm panning it, you see the eye shine right behind us. And we didn't see any of this. So whatever was there was standing right just 5 feet. At one point, we walked past those three sticks, the brakes that stopped us. And while we're looking at it, I'm talking on camera, and there is eye shine right behind Blake, like 5 feet in the forest. All we would have had to do is take the flashlight and shine it right there in the forest. We probably would have seen whatever it was. And then the scariest thing that happened was we turned around to walk to watch the other direction where we saw the two pair of eye shine, and I faked it. I faked pretending to go forward. I took a step forward and then turned really fast, and this big shadow creature that was by the tree dropped to the ground and ran across the trail like a freaking giant spider, just right over the trail about 25 feet from me. Right in, it took like do, and it was into the forest. And I'm looking at it going, what the? And I think there was a second one that was standing there, but it took a step back behind the tree. But I was so focused on the eye shine that was looking at me as it went across the trail. The eye shine just stared at me, and I was focused on it, going, "Is that a cougar?" Because we had seen tracks, wolf and bear and cougar tracks prior, and I know cougars will actually bend down and look at you, but this kind of went right across sideways. And the thing is, there was no bob in the head. The head was straight, and that's what was freaky. So here I'm thinking, did I just imagine this? Is this just I'm just so hyped up that my mind is playing tricks, until 2 months later when I'm looking through the footage, and as I'm walking to show, because I freak out, right? Like I pooped myself a second time, and I said, Blake, I saw this thing. It went across. It looks like a giant crab or a spider. And as I'm walking with Blake to the area, I hear crack, crack in the forest. And I made myself believe that it was a bird, like that I spooked a bird. And in the video, in the documentary, you can hear me say, oh, okay, it's definitely a bird. But while I'm talking on camera, you see the eye shine right over my shoulder, just looking at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and this is 2 months later when I'm looking through my footage. I didn't see any of the eye shine looking. So when I saw that on my video when I was editing, I was like, okay, so it wasn't my imagination that I did see something, but it was a silhouette, like it was black, and I didn't really see much. I just remember the eye shine. I remember the eye shine just staring at me. And for weeks and weeks after that, every time I closed my eyes, right now I just visualize the eyes going right across the trail. It was the trippiest thing. Now I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, because I didn't really see much. Like I didn't see hair. I didn't see, any really big detail. I just wish my camera wasn't facing me, because as a filmmaker, I had just finished filming forward for like 10 minutes of the two eye shine for like 10 minutes. So I needed to get a different angle. So I was talking on camera about what I was doing. And then when I saw the thing go across the trail, I had the camera facing me. But you get my expression, you get all the reaction when I saw it, because it took me by surprise. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a chipmunk. It was eating lots.
I don't know about that. And I would have to almost take bear out of the scenario too, because of what you're describing. And it's only theory. I wasn't there, but listening to your story, your voice, the excitement in it, the fact that you bring up a couple other scenarios for the second time. But no, I mean, you think about it, the bear, from what we understand about bears and the study, because the study is totally different, because the format's totally different with this species of animal. There's an intelligence definitely behind the shutting of the eyes, so they can turn their heads and you don't see which direction they're going,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
maybe you're shining a light and they close their eyes. Maybe they already observed, okay,
Yeah,
I can go left to right if I want to continue. Up, he sees my eyes, I'll shut them. I'll turn, I'll go in the other direction. They don't see me leave because the blend of the fur, the color,
yeah,
in the foliage of the trees and the thicket of them, that they know how to create um, a different type, what I consider to be cloaking, because I think, truthfully, that they are of flesh and blood. There are a couple stories out there, and I don't want to say rumored, of
yeah.
where there's been incidents of accidents of this species being hit by tractor trailers.
Hmm.
And they came to their demise by it. And certain entities of other government and police were called in,
Hmm.
and people were silenced upon what they could or could not talk about.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is you saw something of cryptid, but was it Bigfoot? Could have been Dogman. I don't know. And could you judge the height of the viewing of the eye? Was he at least, or was she at
Yeah.
least as tall as you were, or were you looking
No, it
up
was
in the
taller.
air?
Like the one when I turned around quickly and saw it by the tree and it dropped to the ground, it was
Right.
definitely taller than me. It was at least 7 or 8 feet taller. I mean, I'm 5'6", so everyone's taller than me, right? I mean, I could barely see over a fire hydrant, right? So I'd never be a fireman. Where's Jason?
You might
Jason,
have
get
to
away
think
from
of
that fire hydrant.
comedy after this.
But yeah, it was taller. It was like seven 7 inches. I wish it stayed put so I could run up with a measuring tape. I'm like, hold still, damn it! I
Yeah, right,
tell you are,
right.
you know. But yeah, so that was Michigan. There was a
Okay,
lot more stuff that happened too. It was really cool. It was a good documentary. You know, if you like characters, if you like um, Bigfoot researchers, and just the fun of the whole search,
right.
everyone would like searching for Sasquatch 3 and 4 for sure. Well, they should like all of them. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, hey, your work speaks for itself. If people look into you, they're going to be impressed. Again, I've never been given an award for anything, but that's okay. I have fun doing the things I do. Wherever that takes me in life, it will take me. I feel information should be offered to everybody unconditionally, because us as a species,
Hi,
we carry a
911.
character.
Yes,
We
I know someone that needs an award. Yes, I need to send an award over to him right now.
Wait a minute, I was
Send me
sent
an
one.
ambulance.
I
Send me
was
an
sent
ambulance.
one. I
I think
was sent one from Deborah. She made me a little plaque with Bigfoot on. I
there
don't
you
know if you can
go.
see it.
Oh, I love Deborah already.
Deborah's a sweetheart. She really is. She's very, very, very kind. I even said, please, you don't have to. I want to send you something. No, you don't have to send. Michael, I want to say, and the thing about it is, some people really do think, you do this, I got to send him. No, no one has to send me nothing. I just want to talk to everybody, have fun, and put this information together on all levels. When it comes to the unknown, I don't want to be at the top. I don't. I just want to be with you. I want to be with the voices that make the difference, the stories, the research, and how we can put it out there as truth. That's all I care about. And I think a lot of people who take what they do serious, that's probably how you've been, because your your success is speaks for itself. The things that you've been able to accomplish, uh, you know, 300 plus videos, children's books. But by the way, everybody, listen to the show, and I'll post wherever you guys can get them if you're doing homeschooling. These are very, very fun books for the kids. And you know how schooling is right now and what we all want for the children. I think you'd want to get some of these and do some reading with the kids. It would be a fun evening sitting around a fire, having some marshmallows, enjoying some of the intelligence from the great Jason. How do you really pronounce your last name? I want to say it
Kenzie.
right.
Kenzie.
Kenzie. Okay, the great Jason Kenzie.
So I'm
And
I'm publishing a
Some
book.
people are probably asking, not to interrupt you, Mike, how'd you come up with the other name? Well, every star has a secret.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. It's just that it sounds better, Jason Kenzie, right? It sounds
Yeah,
better. I just like it. It rolls off better. My name is Jason Kenzie, right?
Kenzie.
Kenzie.
All right,
You
so
know,
the reason everybody's here, they're going to want to hear a little bit about number 5 here, which you were calling the all brand new teaser, which, by the way, if you go on America Disclosing Uncensored, there is a fascinating teaser there of what's to come. And we're not going to get into a lot of the information because it's something that you are going to want to see probably firsthand. But we're going to talk about the teas in there. And there's some very good information in searching for Sasquatch chapter 5. It's a must see. But if you want to look at the teaser, and that doesn't mean you leave the audience now, but go into America Disclosing Uncensored. It's posted there. It will take you to a YouTube clip, and you'll see some fascinating stuff in here. And there are some things mentioned in there that I hope I can ask. But if you say it's too soon to ask, I will understand that and respect it. So why don't you narrate for us the best way you can, giving out the information that's going to get people more intrigued to definitely go and research this out.
yeah. Okay, so I was hired by Todd Parsons, and he belongs to a Bigfoot research team in Texas, and so they flew me out and took me out into the wilderness, and it just went crazy one night. There were so many howls, there were so many screams, there were so many growls, and I've never experienced so many like howls and blood curdling roars before. It just was constant all night long. Like it was just all around us. Things were walking in the forest. I just found recently that I caught eye shine in the forest, and we didn't know about it. Someone said they thought they saw eye shine, but we all just brushed it off because we saw a bunny earlier, right? But then when I was looking through the footage yesterday, I actually was doing the same thing. I was talking on camera, and behind my shoulder, I saw some eye shine in the forest. It was brief, but yeah, it was great. Texas, they have these creatures or whatever it was making the noises in the forest. I mean, they're active. I mean,
Not to interrupt you, but are these vocalizations that you're hearing everything that we do here that is being provided by people doing the research? Are they matching the levels of the sounds that we recognize?
Yes. Like if you
Okay.
were so when you see the teaser trailer at the very end of it, you hear a roar, and that's an actual roar that was caught that one of the nights that were there, and you could hear how powerful it was. And then the other one that's in the middle of the teaser, where you hear the it almost sounds like an ape or some kind of a primate sound,
Right.
making that sound. But that was going on all night. That same kind of and we at one point we were in the forest, and something it was everyone was using white hot for their flurs, and at one point they're looking at something in the forest that was white, and we're wondering if it's a fox or maybe a bunny, and then it stood up, like it stood up on two legs, and I'm we're like holy crap, and I could hear it walking in the forest. I actually ran into the forest about 20 feet, and with my video camera on night vision, I had a really powerful shotgun mic on my
Okay.
video camera, and I wanted to catch the sound of it walking, and I did. I was like, oh my god! And I'm like, everyone, quiet for a second. I'm like, holding it, and everything's quiet. You could hear crunch, crunch, crunch as it's walking away. It probably thought I was trying to walk up to it because I ran into that direction, but it was so thick with forest. You know, I thought, God, I'm going to get lost in there if I go running off. I really want to go running off to see if it's someone in a suit, but when you look at the infrared, another night I went into the forest and I posed in the same stance as the creature did because I wanted and took a picture of me in Fleur, and you could
Right.
see that I'm wearing clothes. Where you see in the photograph that the thing that was standing up was naked. So maybe it was some psychotic landowner that was in the forest just watching us just off to the side. For all I know, because we didn't really see what it was, but it was 3 o'clock in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, and it was, we're by a graveyard actually, that's in the forest. We had to take ATVs to it,
Right.
and yeah, and something was in the forest and wasn't wearing any clothes.
Well, part of that teaser also shows some type of anomaly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Um, what do you care to elaborate a little bit of that capture of what
You
the
mean,
scenario was like?
are you talking about the white thing in the forest, like the white?
I'm
Yeah,
not sure. There was something like you said that stood up next to a tree, and it
yeah,
looked like it was a
yeah.
humanoid
It
type
looked like
figure
a
for
humanoid.
sure.
It had a head. You could see the arm that was down below. You could see the one leg, and it had its arm up. So it was as if it was just holding onto a tree, just looking at us. And at that point, I guess that's maybe when I went into the forest and ran kind of towards it and
Okay.
trying to catch the sound of it walking. And I caught the sound. And it was interesting. I kind of wish I could have just had the guts to run through the forest to make sure it wasn't someone, playing a trick on us. You know,
Right. In the movies, when we're getting ready to go hot, go live, get ready for a shot, we'll have a standing, go in, we'll get a shadow up there, get the camera set.
yeah,
In some cases, we have to do a few shots because sometimes the cameras are on miniature, what we call the miniature train rails, the
yeah,
tracks
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
If people saw how movies were really done and never watch another one in ways, because the end,
exactly.
you can pinpoint so many things wrong as it's going on when you're in production and so forth. But nevertheless, so you do get this, and you probably, like you said, you went over near the area. What was the comparison like, or did you do that part of the research with you by the tree
Yeah,
by where
well,
the shot
so
came
we didn't do it that night. I had to do it in another location because we couldn't find the exact spot where the creature was standing.
from?
Whatever
Oh,
it was standing. I wish we did. I wish we did. Like, I wish that I had said to the guys, okay, keep focused on the spot, even when the creature walks off, and I'll walk up to the area and
hmm,
pose so we can get a size difference. But
right,
we never did that, and I kind of regret not being. But when shit hits the fan, you're so pumped with adrenaline and
yeah,
hype that you kind of don't think about that at the moment, right? But on a different day, I actually went into the forest, another spot, and I just wanted to get a picture of me with my hand up, standing in the very same kind of pose, because I wanted to show people that you can see that I'm wearing clothes. You can see my clothes, where
right,
you can see that thing that was in the forest, it was all hot white. You couldn't see a jacket. You couldn't see any darkness. You could see that whatever it was, it had no clothes on. Whatever that was, you know.
okay. So doing the side by side,
Yeah,
you definitely know it could not be a landowner being upset that you guys were around investigating, researching
yeah,
for whatever reasons. Because at least you did what you did, which was a smart move on your part. You can actually show a similarity
yeah.
of the event and
Hmm.
show. what the indifferences are and explain them as to what you just did. Now, there's a couple of things you might want to add to your arsenal too, because in those moments that a lot of people have these encounters while researching and more, there's a lot of tools that can be carried into in the bag. Some want to bring dowsing rods, EMF detectors, different type of scenarios, but they also make a tool that's very, very smart. It's called an aiming measuring gun. You can aim to anything. So in that moment while you're doing things, even if you can place a rock in the position or place, or take some yellow spray paint where you can make an arrow that points to the direction because you don't feel comfortable enough in that moment. Really, when you think about it, how many people are really going to have enough gumption to just walk back there and chill out with the big guy? Safety's the first thing everybody needs to keep in mind while they're researching, and probably not getting too close and letting them have their space as well as you keeping yours. Might be a smart move, but if you aim this tool, it will give you the distance, and then it will help you at a later time to come back again, as long as you mark the ground and you have some type of measurement, and you can walk off and say, I just need to calm my nerves. I need to get into a different mindset, and then we'll go back and check it out further.
That's a good idea. What is that called? That tool?
Well, there is a specific name for it. I have one. I also have it's a gun, and they're very, very cheap. Roby makes them. It's a gun. I got my daughter one for her paranormal research. The best way to buy it is heating and air conditioning specialists use them. It's a laser that hits the ductwork, and you can see the cold spots of the house, so you can figure out how to fix them.
Yeah.
How do we get more heat to this room? And you take the temperatures, you add additional fans. So when you aim these guns, it'll give you a heat sensing temperature. Yeah. So you'll know if is it common to the human. You'll even get more factual information like, hey, is it 98.9 or you know what I mean? So these tools are probably now, let's face it, the economy's in a different place. You might be paying double, but I would say you could probably walk out of a store for about $120 for both tools, which is a bargain. When I bought them, they were probably more on the grounds of about $25 a piece. But I think they're important because this laser will shoot 50 feet away and give you an accurate temperature.
Yeah.
Because they have to make them work in a home. You know what I mean? For the home environment. And what I found out by accident is they worked. I was sitting there one day and I had the gun out and I was doing something that I'm describing to you. And I decided to aim it at a squirrel.
Oh, yeah.
And I started picking up his body temperature. And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought about this. So this would probably work great for paranormal. Yeah. When people say they're claiming to see a shadow figure. And you're trying to, and then people talk about, well, the room temperatures, you got your different types of boxes and whatnot. But for directional services, the measuring gun and the heat,
I'm going to get the measuring one, the one that shows how far away it is, because that would come in handy. Because I'd be like, okay, so it's 40 feet away, 32 feet away. It's 25 feet away. Goddamn thing's running at me. Okay, I'm dead. I'm dead. Okay, so I'll know when it's coming towards me or if it's running away. I like that to measure the ground. Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, you have to think as technology started to enhance itself 10 years ago, at least in the construction field. I mean, and prior to that time. We were having laser levelers and doing other things. I used to use a water hose to get the purest sense of leveling.
Yeah.
And I like to think in ways, unless back in the ancient culture, maybe they had this technology, or maybe they ran a water line, of some sort, and they knew how to control the mechanism, because look at the perfect levelness that they created. All these structures all over the world, and they are all over the world, and some are hidden right in front of our plain faces, and we just don't know that they're there, unless we depend on LiDAR, which is another significant invention.
Yeah, you can get LiDAR for your iPhone.
Right. And you can also use those in drones now and get different types of things that I've
Yeah.
been finding out in the last year. A lot more people were talking about it. So have you worked by any chance? This is just a hypothetical question to you.
Yeah.
Have you worked with anybody yet who does remote viewing? Because I know you
Oh,
brought up you did work with somebody on a different level, but there is
oh yeah, I worked.
credibility coming out on some of that now.
Yeah, I worked with the she squatchers.
Okay.
The she squatchers, they do remote viewing, and there was they do it on their phone. Like they take the map and they can scan, and with remote viewing, they can see where these Sasquatch creatures are. And at one point, there was an area where they said they saw quite a few of them, at least 20 of them. So we took trucks and we went. One went on one side of the forest, and the other one went on the other side of the forest. And then we all just kind of went into the forest. It wasn't nighttime though; it was during the day, and we aimed for that area. But when we got to the area, um, we found tree breaks. We found a couple mushrooms that were pulled out of the ground and turned upside down and just lying there. And yeah, that's we smelled. There was a really bad smell that we found that we could smell, but we didn't really physically see any Sasquatches. But it was actually quite fun to be able to go racing through the forest with a whole bunch of us, because it was about, I want to say, I don't know, 10 of us. So 5 in one vehicle, 5 in the other vehicle, and with Adam Davies and Robert Kreider and the She Squatchers. I was just, yep. And we raced through the forest. It was great.
And bringing up Texas as you did, that's what Joe and Todd down there.
Yes. Yeah, Todd Parsons. Yeah,
Yeah,
Todd Parsons is the
I
one.
hear great things from those guys, and I also been hearing a lot of stories out on some of the lake areas down there, and I can't think of the one river off the top of my head, but they're getting a lot of what they're claiming to be seeing as dogmen,
Yeah,
and I've also caught some documentaries that have been on certain TV channels and so forth, where people have come forth and given their stories and whatnot, and I think we're at a time now where, for some reason, some people just don't see things, some do. And it makes me wonder if it's a part of consciousness of, because if you're willing to accept, maybe you can see more. If you're more of doubt and frown on things, you're going to see less. I don't know if that's true on this whole myth of everything of life we live in, but it's just a narrative that I look at. But I do see in Texas a lot going on, but I hear just as much from some friends, and sometimes I'll even throw it in one of my friends, not throw it in his face. I bring it up and, oh, I never seen that stuff. I don't believe in it. Well, until you go out there, because he has acres down in Texas, and maybe one day he will, and he'll go out there and he'll start to believe in the unbelievable, because more stories are coming out in a large way. They really are. So let me just say to end that part of where I was going, sharing a little bit there on some of that information. This release is going to be out on what day in total?
well, I can't put a day, but I'm aiming for the end of June.
Okay.
Aiming for the end of June.
And where will everybody be able to watch it and
They
tune
will
in?
be able to see it on
Plex.
plextv.com,
All
and they
right,
can see it
let
on
me write
Tubi,
that down.
and they can see it on tubitv.com.
Plex and Tubi.
Yeah, Tubi TV, and it's free. You can watch it for free. All my other ones are on Tubi TV, so they can go and watch it on Tubi. Um, I'm I'm going to be starting to film chapter 6, and I'm actually going after the Florida swamp ape.
Mm.
So that's going to be chapter 6, and possibly chapter 7, because it's going to be probably a pretty big expedition. So that's coming up, and I'm very excited. And then I'm going to be doing probably chapter 8 in Colorado, a Colorado expedition, where I'm going to go out searching for Bigfoot way, way, way deep in the forests of Colorado. And so that's exciting. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm working on my next children's book. It's the fourth children's book, and that is with the She Squatchers. The She
Oh,
Squatchers,
okay.
yeah, they're in this book. It's called Adventures of Little JJ. Little JJ meets the She Squatchers, and
Okay.
basically we go looking like we go after a special flower that the Sasquatch people eat that gives them their powers of visibility, their red eyes, their strength, their speed, and yeah, all that. And so the flower has disappeared. So we go on a quest, riding moose and going way up into the mountains searching for this flower, so we can bring the flower back. So because the Sasquatch people are not feeling well and they've lost all their powers. So we go on a quest to find this special plant, this flower, and we bring it back. And that is the children's book, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
that's,
think it would be fun for kids to hear.
oh, yeah, it's good for kids. Yeah. Hopefully everyone likes it too. It's like ages 6 and older, right? You know,
I was loving it just from what I heard. I mean, a good story is a good story, and if you're talented enough to put it together and share it to the world, I say more power to you. Go for it and do it. I mean, I
did
don't
you
want
know?
to I don't want to get into political hype, but I'm all for whatever we can do better for children. I'll just
Yeah.
say it like that.
Yeah.
So, I take my hat off to you and the time that you put into this and your thought on how you come up with stuff and how your own life triggers it. That just tells you how much is in front of us for us all and
Yeah.
how we can utilize things if we put our minds to them.
Yeah. And I also produced a Bigfoot song.
Oh, you did.
I did. Yeah. It's called Searching for Sasquatch. And it's a country bluegrass style. And it's an actual song. It was written by myself and Todd Parsons. And Todd Parsons, he actually wrote the music and sang it. So what I can do is I can send you the link to the music video, and you can find this song called "Searching for Sasquatch." Jason, you should put Jason Kenzie "Searching for Sasquatch" on Spotify
Okay.
or Amazon Music. It's on all the streaming platforms for any kind of music. But I can send you a link, and you can
Yeah,
have a look
please.
at the music video too. The music video is quite fun.
All
And
right.
yeah, it's kind of like the theme song, but it's I wanted to create something that people would enjoy, and that's why I went with country music, country bluegrass, right? Because I don't know if a lot of Bigfoot researchers are into rap. You
I don't know, but I can tell you the world has changed in many ways recently, and everybody's accepting music
yeah,
of positivity. And I'm sure this is probably just another indication of positivity for the Bigfoot research groups that are out there. Maybe they'll start to use it when they open up for their conferences for
yeah,
Bigfoot and
that's cool.
Dogman and
Actually,
cryptozoologies and
I was going to ask you if you know anyone that plays music and sings like kind of like a not heavy rock, but rock music, not thrasher, but rock, like kind of rock music, because I would love to remake the Searching for Sasquatch song in kind of a rock music style, right?
Mhm.
Because right now it's country bluegrass, and it's nice. I love it. It's great. But I'd like to make a second version for people who are not into country or bluegrass. So if anyone out there can play guitar or they can sing rock, if they would like to be involved and be able to, I have all the words, I have the melody, I have everything. I could just show you the actual Searching for Sasquatch song, and you can just re-sing it, playing the instruments in rock music, right? I think that would be great.
Do I just happen to look like a kind of guy that might do that or has?
Maybe,
Just
maybe,
saying. Just
maybe,
saying.
yeah,
Look,
maybe.
I've done everything in life. I worked in movies, played music. I have a couple guitars sitting right behind me. We were talking about guitars quickly before we
Yeah,
went live about a message with Jimmy Church. But he got
but
this mini Stratocaster, and I always wanted a mini Les Paul or a mini SG, and he got this mini Strat for like $125, and I was like, man, I love that thing, you know. Anyway,
but
I'll show you. I'll show you what I got here. I got something, and this belonged to somebody. I'm not going to say who yet.
well, I tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'll show you the music video, and you listen to the song. Wow, that's a nice guitar. That's expensive guitar.
This is all handmade,
Wow, that is
and it was
nice.
handmade by somebody very, very, very.
Well,
And hello, Uncle Ted, by the way.
if you if you listen to the song, the country bluegrass, and if you can imagine it being kind of like a rock song, if you
I
would,
like doing reversions. I love doing reversions of a lot of songs because there's a lot of songs out there that are modest, and if you put some grunt to them, you can bring a lot more to them. You really can.
yeah,
And some of the second waves of songs are
yeah.
more powerful than the first.
Well, yeah, and I thought it would be great because I love rock music, and I thought it would be great. It'd be time to like do a second version, almost like a second printing of a book,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, just putting it
Well,
out there,
if I can do anything to help you, I would modestly do so. Again, if I'm not saying I'm the guy, I'm not saying I'm the guy. I'm just saying it's probably something I could do, but there could be possibly somebody else out there that's listening who wants to get a shot at doing something, and I think they should have the door open for themselves.
Yeah, for
I'm getting kind of old now anyway. I'm 63, so it's like, how much more fun can I want to have? But I've had a lot of good times. I really have, and I'm happy with them. And just as you are, because you're doing something in life now, and I see your direction's going to go heavily uh, focusing on Sasquatch and the unknown in ways. Are you going to go to dogmen? Are you going to go to some of the
so
other possibilities or
so
UFOs?
yeah, so right now I have Sasquatch researchers that are, they pay for my flight and they pay for me to go on their expedition to film their expedition. So if someone out there is doing expeditions with Dogman or Loch Ness Monster or even paranormal like ghosts, and if they want to have me come out there and film uh, the expedition, even if it's paranormal with ghosts or even UFOs, I would be more than happy to come out there and do one of my chapters. It could be um, searching for UFOs or searching for the Loch Ness Monster, searching for Dogman, and do a documentary on that and put that online and make it a full production. I think that would be great. So, yeah, back 15 years ago, yeah, 15 or 20 years ago, I I did start a group called VIP Ghosts, and it was the Vancouver, you know, the Vancouver paranormal. So we used to go hunting for the paranormal, and I was a skeptic, so it's fun to go to these haunted locations and have staplers thrown at the back of your head from out of nowhere. I mean, it's great fun.
I
What's
understand.
made
I understand. I've been in a couple spots that where things occur and you don't always understand why. And I don't. I've been kind of like a mag. We all have a reason why we start what we start, I guess, in
Mhm.
some ways. And I have one of those kind of stories as well. But I also had um, certain things in my life that have always seemed to get my attention. to show themselves to me in different ways. You know, I call myself a download executive. No one knows that terminology. I don't even know it, but I use it. And it's like I can play with things and touch things that I never did before. And I call it, you know, many people say, oh, you slept on it, you went back. No, you can look at something that you just don't. And I'm not going to say I could work on a nuclear reactor. I understand all the theories behind it because I love researching. I love researching religion. I love researching this. I love researching UFOs. I mean, there's a whole area of topic and subject when it comes to military industrial complex and underground cities and the giants. I mean, I have a fascination with that, but my whole life has always triggered me in a way to do it because of what I've experienced myself. You know, from the time one of my weirdest experiences were when I talked to orbs and had them land in my hands, and when I told them that, okay, thank you for doing it, you can leave now, and I have it on video where they did. Now, they weren't a bug because bugs can't fly through a wall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I thought to myself, this is unusual. And I had other experiences. I can't write a book, not that many, but I had things that something always inspired me enough to say, I need to do a little more. You've already done some pretty fascinating things for your life. I mean, at least working within them, not like on your level. Your level, I mean, hey, my brother, great job. I mean, your success will speak for itself. People will find out more and more about who you are and what your accomplishments have been. And that's why I say to people, stay strong, stay healthy, go forward, because your own tools are in front of you, and they really, really are. And you can open up yourself to so much more. And that's what I try to do with this show, this platform, the reason you're doing the platforms that you do. And I'm actually excited about how long is it going to take to get to 8, because I'll be wanting to like binge watch all this stuff tomorrow.
Well, I gotta say, one of the biggest things that's come out of these of me searching for Sasquatch and going on this adventure and going on this quest to find these creatures is the friendships that I've made, like you. Like, you know, friends that I've met along the way, you know, friends I'll keep for the rest of my life, you know, doing this. And, you know, that to me has been very important. And, you know, we all want to find these creatures. We all want to prove that they're 100% real, at least to the scientific world. Right. And I really want them to be real. I do, 100%. You know, I just, like I said, I need to see a daytime sighting of it 20 feet away, you know, walking past or walking towards me or whatever, you know.
Right. And, you know, I think if you're meant to see it, it doesn't have to be at night. Same with the ghost. I understand that there's some theories behind these things, but I don't know if there's 100% truth behind them all, because most pictures that we get that are good are daytime. I mean, there's light, there's some kind of something else that's allowing us to visualize it. When it's at night, it seems like it's more of a mystery type of creature that the camera can pick up what your own eyes can't, and the camera picks up different anomalies. And that was one of the reasons why I sent you what I sent you this afternoon. If you look on the other side of that truck, it was mind-blowing, because there's something there going back and forth, very large, and then a fox comes up. And this is Odessa's pictures. Just I want to give Odessa credit where it is. But I thought you, as an investigator of research and different things, that this might give you a different aspect of light on certain scenarios. So this camera is shooting out, and then a fox decides to come up. Now, foxes are timid, and they act in ways of fear in some ways, at least the ones that I have on my property. They don't allow you to get real close to them.
Yeah.
Now, I know people that had them as what we call pups, and they were different. But when they're from the wild, out in the wild, they see you, they want nothing to do with you. They hop, bounce, and run away. They really do. This
Yeah.
fox made no indication that there was a, you know what I mean? He would have been the first trigger point to say that there's somebody, but no, I know you saw what I saw. And if you
Yeah.
study it a little bit more, maybe you'll get a little more out of it as well. So,
So
the, you know,
the color of it, why is it so red? Is
well,
that
that was because it was an enhancement. I have different variations of
oh
enhancement to see which one, but it wasn't by me. It was what was sent to me. And
mm-hmm.
I'm going to be talking to her. She comes on several platforms. She's a great lady. Has groups on Facebook and so forth. Supports the whole Bigfoot, dogmen, and more theories.
Yeah.
And she actually has come up with some very good information. It's I also have a couple guys that come on that one I give credit to. Um, he claims he lives amongst Bigfoot and he's been in arm's reach. His name's Dave Parker. Again, I've never been to Dave's place. He's been on my show several times. He has theories about size and foot size. So if the foot is this big, Sasquatch is this tall, and he's probably this old because he has studied him over the past 10 years on his property. He also has one which he calls it Andy. Um, Again, I have another gentleman who was on recently, and he's taken some very good, some of the best photography that I've seen, to be quite honest with you. And it wasn't clear as far as how far it was. It was somewhat away, but you could see the whole body. You could see the fur to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
and the definition of what we look for to say, oh, that's not a tree. But he just didn't get one. It was like there was tree peakers there while one stood out more than the others. So there's multiple in the one picture. Um, and that came from Earl Magnum. I'm sorry, Margrum. I believe it's Margrum.
Mm-hmm.
Mangrum. That's what it is. I apologize, Earl. Don't. I have so many names in my head and information because all the different platforms of different shows I do and talking to people. But Earl Mangrum had some really good information. He was on last week with me and talked about it. But him and Dave Parker, the only two that I know that actually have a scenario where they have them adjacent or on their property and they get visitations from them.
Like
Now,
all the time.
so I don't know if they could, possibly work with you in some way or whatever. If you're ever in their area, they might be worth looking
Where are
up.
they? Where are they?
Um, I believe Earl is in Mississippi, and you know what? I can't think off the top of my head if Dave's in Alabama, or not. But I could get you more information on that. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Dave didn't come through the group tonight. He likes to be on show and sit sidebar with me, but I can't always bring him in uh, due to my schedule and different conflicts of
Yeah.
scenarios that go on in the Bigfoot community and so forth. But Dave's a person of information. Earl's a person of information. B. Moss is another one of person of information. Now that's more cryptid dogmen, but again, and they go to the land between the lakes and different places like that.
Yep.
They're getting accountability. They're getting a lot of research and stories. And again, I'll be more than happy to share
Mm-hmm.
anything that I can that might put you on a fast track to when you're in the area to visit these particular spots.
Mm-hmm. No, that would be good. I'd really like that.
I'll be happy to help any way I can, keep you on track the best we can, because you're the type of person that is going to help us get the information out there. You're coming in as impartial. You only want the credibility of what you can present to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, you're a rock star because of how you're looking at it and how you're going about it. And again, if everybody's just joining in tonight with me, and he won't be here much longer, we are on a time schedule for him. And all
Yeah.
my thanks to you, my friend. But somebody did ask for your name. It's Jason Kenzie. Jason Kenzie. is there anything else or do you have any groups or anything you'd like to promote besides your books and where once again, where they can find them?
Yeah, I have a website also called searchingforsasquatch.ca. I do have Searching Sasquatch on Instagram, and I have a TikTok also, so you can kind of follow some of the fun stuff on TikTok. And I think TikTok is Searching for Sasquatch on TikTok. You'll find it on TikTok because I have a picture of an owl. Yeah, I go after Sasquatch and have a picture of an owl, but with red eyes. And yeah, so
I've
that's it.
always used the signature owl. I really have. I don't think anybody ever got up on it. I called it the 30 Days of Darkness, and they didn't understand what I was doing with and I put up this picture of the owl face, and
Yeah,
nobody got it. Nobody understood what I was trying to say. So
yeah.
it's okay. It's all right.
But I
It's all
am
right.
very glad
Linda says she's late. Let me give you some names of who came in tonight that were, want to say thanks to some of these people. I wish it could have been a little busier tonight, but it is a Tuesday and we had to make things work as we did. But Abe's been in. Michael Martin's been in. Hello, Michael. How you doing, brother? I know he gets into this a lot. Carl's been in. Hello, Carl. Thank you for all your support. JK's been in. Deborah Ann Myers. What's the name of the movie? It's what's coming available right now is Searching for Sasquatch, The Texas Screams, Chapter 5. Chapter 5. And if you want to see the teaser, there is a teaser. It's about around a minute and a half long. It's on America Disclosing, Uncensored. So everything into the unknown. You know what that's about. Ernie Duvall. Wait a minute. Here's a guy here that had a scenario. I don't know how many of my shows you caught, but you might want to spend some time with Ernie, depending upon what you see how you see your future and and your writings and so forth and what you do. Fascinating story. We had a ton of views. Same with Earl. I think Earl had last week we had 3,500 views just on Facebook.
yeah,
But Ernie had a very, very impressive encounters, a hunter going into the woods and so forth. Give you just a little tidbit of information on it. And I'm sure nobody will mind that because everybody loves Bigfoot, no matter what. But he made eye contact with this creature. And he said there was actually an indication of surprise from Bigfoot. And as they saw each other and looked at each other, both having different objectives, it seemed like Bigfoot was in a hunt with other Bigfoots.
mhm,
And Bigfoot looks at him like, where did you come from? That's the way he described it.
yeah,
And when you talk to him, he's a fascinating man. He always says, bring a glass of whiskey and a cigar. But the story's mind-blowingly fabulous. He got close enough to see his eyes were blue. He got
What?
close enough to see the palms and the
Yeah,
M in the palms.
wow,
He got close enough to see the fur, the expression, and describe the face and the skin color. And as they stood there, he showed both sides of his hands to him. It's
wow,
a fascinating interview that I did with him. I would love for you to see some parts of it. If you had to fast forward through it or whatever, it's all over my pages. But Ernie's a really, really incredibly good guy who had a story that occurred 30 some years ago. And he picked me to bring it out because of the way I set the platform up for everybody to relax, come in, use your voice, and just tell
yeah,
your story because there's a lot of people that have fear. And you just worked with someone recently as well, or semi-recently, where it took every bit of you to get them to come on camera to talk. So we need to keep this welcome mat out there. And I want to say this. If you want to contact Jason, if you want to contact myself here, and you have a story and you want to share it, whether it's UFO, Bigfoot, whatever, you do have ears. You do have platforms that you can come to where you can find yourself to be comfortable enough to talk. And if you need it to stay off the air, it can stay off the air, but it will become, at least on my half, I will make it data.
yeah,
My research and what I've done is 47 years now. So that's why I'm just as fascinated about what I in research. You can go out every weekend and
Yeah.
do the same thing. I mean, you're not always going to have the hot spot, or they're going to migrate, and then you need other people. And this is the intriguing part, because there is different stories, and they correlate. They do correlate, and the data research that I do, it shows a migration table of
Mhm.
how they travel through it, the same
Yeah.
way that you found down at the lake the footprints.
Well,
That there is
like
there's substance
anybody,
to it.
like animals, and even people back 100,000 years ago, they would migrate with the animals, right? With the deer, with the food source, right?
Right,
I
right,
mean, it's a no-brainer to think. Maybe not all of them. I mean, I believe if these creatures do exist, that there's, probably groups of them, family of them, um, tucked away deep into areas that that people don't go into, right? And I've taken a helicopter deep into the forest, got dropped off in the middle of the wilderness, and just spent a couple nights there. I've seen the trees that are being ripped out of the ground, turned upside down, and ran back into the ground. I've seen the deer hanging uh, from the trees. You know, I've actually seen footprints. Well, two footprints, like in the mud. Like this is a long time ago. This is before I was even involved with Sasquatch. I was just brought on as a videographer for a Sasquatch group, and this is a long time ago. And I was just there just to film for them, and wasn't didn't think anything of it. But they would point stuff out to me. But this is going back almost, I don't know, 18 years ago.
hmm
So, and I remember it, and I kind of wish I was filming my Searching for Sasquatch documentaries now, and then came across that. That would be so cool to be able to film.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's part of LIFO, and you can make it better. And I know in your arsenal now, you're going to look for that gun that may help you.
yeah,
There are other tools to keep in mind that way that will help. Also, that little can of spray paint, anything that you can make an arrow
yeah,
to make a notation the next day that okay, that arrow is pointed exactly at those trees over there. I
yeah.
just need to go and try to correlate where I was
Where
at.
it
So
was, yeah. Well, that's great.
at one point in time, I got so nervous about something that I wanted to market, and I didn't have nothing to market with. The only thing I saw were some stones, and I lined the stones up and made a small
Yeah,
arrow.
and I've done that too. Like I've done little piles
Yeah,
of sticks, so I could find the sticks, and then I would find my way back to that spot. Uh,
right.
but yeah, yeah, I wish I didn't have to go. I have to do some filming right now.
No,
Uh,
it's fine. I'm
yeah,
very happy that you were humble enough to spend some time with us here on the Dark Radio Network project.
thank you,
You've been a
Aaron.
wealth of information, okay, and you gave us some indications that there are things of interest, and also your first documentary, second chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5, soon to be out. Everybody, stay tuned to it, and just so you know, Jason has the release coming out soon. No given date yet, but if you want to catch the tease, go into America Disclosing Uncensored and just click on it, and it'll take you over to YouTube, and you will be able to see exactly this piece of documentary that he's allowed to come out to this point. Jason, one last time to you. Thank you so much. And everybody, look for Jason's books for the kids at home. They're secure. They're very promising. The kids will love the ethic behind them. There's excitement, and I mean, I really liked where you're going with sea squatchers and little JJ. And I know this surrounds you in your life. Just
Maybe.
like your second childhood on
Yeah.
written down, documented. It's fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, brother. I do
Thank you.
appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back and visit us again in the future.
Yes, and you have a great rest of your evening.
Oh yeah,
And
and send me the link on the melody and the thing on that, and I'll listen to it, and I'll let you know if I could do it any justice, or if there's somebody I can turn you on to that might be able to, because I
Um,
do know a few people.
oh
I
yeah,
promise, I do.
I thought you might. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just post the music video to your page, and
sure.
yeah, that's great. All right, well, you have a great evening, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing all you guys in the future watching my content.
Yeah, keep supplying us. Keep supplying us. And if anything comes up quick, give us a little buzz. Give
I
us a
will.
little buzz.
I will.
Thanks
All right.
again, Jason. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Have a great night. Peace, brother. All right, America. So that was Jason Kenzie, who stepped in with us this evening, and we greatly appreciate him. Searching for Sasquatch, the Texas Screams, Chapter 5. Once again, you can go on to our platform page, America Disclosing Uncensored. Also, if you have a story that you want to talk about, please get in touch with me, whether it's UFO related, Bigfoot, Dogman, more. We also have quite a few other people coming on to the platform as guests. Looking forward to having them. So the lineups are coming in, more information's coming in. People just want to share. And it's always fascinating to be able to hang out with people because we need a moment's break. You know what we're up against. And we need that different kind of narrative to just swing off for a little bit. So that's why these shows are so supportive in many ways. We're helping people, but also helping people escape some of the monotony that we're involved with in the last couple of years. So, from me to you, I appreciate you very much. I'll be on Thursday night, this Thursday. Please try to make it in. Check James and me. We're going to hang out speaking about the unknown MI6, Area 51, Project High Jump, and a few other things, narrating and theory and some new informations that have come out. It's going to be great topics and talk. So that'll be Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. So I'll look forward to you guys being there. Please try. And do whatever you can to share out the program tonight to some of your favorite cryptid research groups, Bigfoot groups, and more. I'm sure they, excuse me, they won't mind. And again, have a blessed night, everybody. Lots of love. Don't judge me. I won't judge you. All the good things. Honk for America as loud as you can. Have a great night. Thanks.